afternoon and salam perpaduan. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos and you are currently tuned in to Updates at Noon. Our top stories today, the MOE is looking to improve early schooling aid payment method. And man dives into lake to save 3 people in a drowning vehicle. And let's begin. The Education Ministry, the MOE, will improve the payment method for the Bantuan Awal Persekolahan program, including crediting it directly into the students' or their parents' bank accounts to ensure safety and time saving. Education Minister Fadlina Sideg said she took note of all the suggestions from various parties regarding the payment process for the early schooling aid program. Well, former Education Minister Dr. Rasmi has proposed for the early school aid payments to be credited directly into the student's bank account for safety and time savings. Now, commenting on the matter, Fadlina said that at the moment, the ministry would continue with handing out the early school aid money face-to-face, taking into account that there are parents who do not have bank accounts. The issue arose following an incident involving a school headmaster who lost 109,000 ringgit in school aid allocated for a school in Berita RTM when it was stolen from his car last Monday. The money had earlier been withdrawn by the headmaster from a bank and placed in a bag in the front passenger seat of his car while he went to a nearby shop to buy a drink in Semunye. Meanwhile, Fadlina said there was a breach in the Standard Operating Procedure, or SOP, for the withdrawal of schooling financial aid amounting to over 100,000 ringgit during the incident. Well, she said this was among the initial information received and that the case was currently under investigation by the police and the Selangor State Education Department.
Kita ambil serius kenapa? Pertama, kehilangan ini melibatkan jumlah yang cukup besar. Kedua, SOP kewangan ini telah dilanggar. Ya, kita ada SOP yang cukup ketat bahawa lebih daripada 10,000 mestilah ada escort. Ini kan pula satu jumlah yang cukup besar. Ya, jadi kita sedang menunggu laporan polis dan juga JPN Selangor dan kemudian kita akan mengumumkan tindakan yang akan diambil.
Fadlina said the ministry would not compromise on the matter, and so far, only one such incident had been reported in the country. She said the ministry would also reimburse the money to the school through the relevant process, as it was the right of the school students. The Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development, or KPWKM, is recruiting 372 new grade 29 assistant community development officers on a contract basis this year, specifically for services related to children. In a statement, the ministry said the move was to ensure that child protection services can be implemented optimally. Now, it said a total of 120 assistant community development officers have reported to the Social Welfare Department, or JKM, to carry out their duties as protection officers and moral officers. The newly appointed officers have undergone briefing sessions at the JKM headquarters and the relevant state welfare offices and will attend training on handling cases involving children. According to the ministry, the training is aimed at providing the new intake further exposure to Child Act 2001 and their role in saving children from persecution, abuse and neglect. A man dived into a lake at Jalan Bukit Pasir in Batu Pahat to save the lives of 3 individuals after the vehicle they were traveling in skidded and fell into the water. Suzaini Muhammad Sadali, age 43, a factory supervisor, said he was driving around the area known as Tasik Merdeka when he saw the car in front skid and plunge into the lake, which is a former bauxite mine. Now, there were 2 women, one next to the driver's seat and another in the rear seat, clinging onto the body of the car while crying for help. Suzaini said he managed to get the male victim to the edge of the lake before 2 other men helped save the 2 women by pulling them to the bank. Several photos of the incident went viral on social media, and netizens praised Suzaini for his brave and selfless act. Meanwhile, Batu Pahat District Police Chief ACP Ismail Dollah in a statement said all the victims aged between 25 and 28 did not suffer any injuries, adding that the case was investigated under Rule 10 LN 166/59 for failing to control the vehicle while driving. The outstanding achievements and contributions of 31 industry players who excelled in human capital development at the national level were recognized during the Human Resources Development Awards 2022 or HRD Awards 2022 last night. The prestigious HRD 2022 award was categorized into two, namely the Human Resources Minister Award for large employers with 17 awards and the HRD Corp Awards for 14 SMEs, training providers and traders. Human Resources Minister V. Siva Kumar said the HRD Awards was a great platform to evaluate employers and industry players' performance in strengthening their human resources development efforts.
Malaysia's long-term vision of becoming a high-income, fully developed economy hinges our ability to grow our workforce and talents. This, however, could be achieved by the government's effort alone. Each of us need to play our part and take a multifaceted approach to contribute to human capital development.
Well, a total of 5,508 registered employers across two categories were evaluated, and winners were selected by judges after several months of review based on their innovative and effective approaches to human capital development. The prestigious event witnessed 17 awards given to the winners of the Human Resources Minister Award, and among the notable recipients were 7-Eleven Malaysia Sendirian Berhad, Alam Flora Sendirian Berhad, CIMB Bank Berhad and Kaku International Malaysia Sendirian Berhad. The HRD Awards was introduced by HRD Corp under the auspices of the Ministry of Human Resources in 2001 and is the highest national recognition for industry players at the forefront of human capital innovation and transformation. The Ministry of International Trade and Industry, MITI, will not only attract foreign investments to Malaysia, but is also exploring international business opportunities for Malaysian companies at the World Economic Forum, or WEF, held in Davos. Its Minister, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Aziz, said the job of promoting Malaysia is not only for the government, but that the corporate sector should also bear the responsibility. Well, in his Facebook posting, the minister said apart from agencies under MITI, government-linked investment companies or GLICs and government-linked companies, GLCs, such as Khazanah, Employees Provident Fund, Permodalan Nasional Berhad, Petronas and Sime Darby are also in Davos meeting and discussing with major companies in the world. The ministry have provided a conducive atmosphere in Malaysia House to facilitate the meetings that have been arranged. The 53rd annual WEF from 16 to 20th January has drawn 2,700 leaders from 130 countries, including 52 heads of state at the Swiss Alps resort. The Malaysian delegation is led by Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Aziz. The minister is expected to participate in various sessions, including on economic costs, supply chains, transport, and a session called Living with Risk, where he will be one of 3 panelists. Bursa Malaysia Berhad raised 3.49 billion ringgit from both primary and secondary listings last year, a 27% increase over the 2.75 billion ringgit raised in 2021. Now, in a statement, the exchange said this included 35 new listings, which is the highest on the exchange since 2006, where a total of 11.15 billion ringgit was raised, contributing to the overall market capitalization of 1.74 trillion ringgit. Now, the exchange said the retail segment continued to be a significant contributor, amounting for 25% of the total average daily value. Meanwhile, the exchange said it presented 77 awards to the winners of the Retail Investor Campaign 2022 at an awards ceremony recently. Well, it said the highest number of awards went to Malacca Securities Sendirian Berhad with 22 awards, including 4 top broker awards. CGS CIMB Securities Sendirian Berhad with 15 awards, while Hong Leong Investment Bank Berhad, RHB Investment Bank Berhad and Maybank Investment Bank Berhad won 6 awards each. And on to the foreign front, Israeli troops shot dead a Palestinian occupied West Bank. Stay with us. Well, Israeli soldiers shot dead a Palestinian man yesterday after he allegedly fired at troops in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian Health Ministry said Hamdi Abu Daye, age 40, was killed by Israeli occupation bullets in the southern town of Halhul. Now, an AFP photographer saw the body of a man beside a military tower at the northern entrance to the town before it was covered by soldiers. Well, a Palestinian woman told AFP she was in a car with a family when gunfire erupted.
ما بعرف زي حلم نزلنا من السيارة ولا في شاب على الأرض. الشاب كان يتحرك شوي راسه وبعدين استشهد الله يرحمه يعني منين الطخ صار. الجيش ما صدقوا إن إحنا ظلوا يطخوا على السيارة تبعتنا. طبعا إحنا نزلنا تحت الكراسي. طخوا على السيارة والرصاص مشح ابني.
The Halhul shooting raises the toll of Palestinians killed this month in the West Bank to 15, including civilians and freedom fighters. The majority have been killed by Israeli forces, which have occupied the West Bank since the 1967 Six-Day War. The surge in violence in 2022 made it the deadliest year in the West Bank since United Nations records began in 2005. 26 Israelis and at least 200 Palestinians were killed across Israel and the Palestinian territories last year. Mexican police carried out raids on properties in the state of Mexico following the arrest of 9 alleged members of a criminal group from Jalisco. Now, as a result of the arrests, authorities targeted 3 locations across the south-central state in connection with murders in Toluca Valley. Now, images released by state authorities showed police and forensic experts in Tenango del Valle digging inside a raided building. The Attorney General in a statement said remains of possible victims were found at the site which, quote, are presumed to be of human origin, unquote, adding that investigations have not yet been concluded. The number of potential victims had also not been determined. Authorities said those arrested included an alleged leader of a cell related to a Jalisco criminal organization with suspected links to murders in Toluca Valley and a kidnapping in nearby Tenancingo. Law enforcement officials in California offered a $10,000 reward and asked for the public's help in solving the deliberate, intentional, and horrific murders of 6 people at a home in the state's Central Valley. Tulare County Sheriff Mike Boudreau, in a news conference, said investigators believe a gang or drug cartel targeted the family. Deputies had conducted a drug-related search warrant at the same home recently. Now, among the dead in the shooting on Monday were a 17-year-old girl and 10-month-old son. The police believe that the 17-year-old girl and her infant were actually running from the scene. Now, the shooters stood over top of that 17-year-old mother and fired rounds into her head. Also killed were a 72-year-old grandmother, 2 men and a woman. Police were searching for at least 2 suspects, but they have yet to be identified. The $10,000 reward was being offered by law enforcement agencies for information that moved the investigation forward. India is expected to overtake China as the world's most populous country this year, even though its population growth has been slowing down. Now, China's population fell last year for the first time in 6 decades, a historic turn that is expected to mark the start of a long period of decline in its citizen numbers with profound implications for its economy and the world. Now, India estimates its population at 1.38 billion compared to China's 1.4 billion. Dr. Rinku Sengupta, a senior consultant at Rainbow Children's Hospital, said that although a high population has its advantages, such as a young workforce, it also presented a challenge to economic growth and resources.
But the downside is that, there is going to be the high population puts a constraint on our food, on our health, on education. And being a doctor, of course, the health part of it is most glaring to me. And, looking at maternal health in particular, newborn health, we are still lagging behind a lot of countries in the world.
Well, some even feel the need for government to take measures to tame its population growth, which is actually slowing down. The South Asian nation's annual population growth has averaged 1.2% since 2011, down from 1.7% in the previous 10 years. The use of family planning methods in India increased to 66.67% between 2019 to 2021, from 53.5% in 2015 to 2016. Now, India's total fertility rate, the number of children per woman, fell to 2 in 2019 to 2021, down from 3.4 in 1992 to 1993. And with 27.3% of its population aged between 15 and 29 years, India is among the youngest countries in the world. Next in sports, Djokovic.
SAHIH Odisha Hoki Piala Dunia Lelaki 2023 membuka tirai persaingan. Barisan 20 pemain terbaik skuad hoki senior kebangsaan kini menggalas cabaran dalam kejohanan edisi ke-15. Saingan 16 pasukan dari 4 kumpulan dengan negara India sebagai tuan rumah dibawakan untuk anda dari 13 hingga 29 Januari, eksklusif hanya di RTM.
Our little sports corner will begin with the segment, the English FA Cup news. Now, a thumping strike from Harvey Elliott was enough to give FA Cup holders Liverpool a 1-0 win away to Wolverhampton Wanderers in a third-round replay this morning. Now, Liverpool, who are coming off a 3-0 defeat against Brighton and Hove Albion that left them 9th in the Premier League, drew 2-2 with Wolves in their first third-round meeting on 7 January. Despite a recent string of poor results, Jurgen Klopp still fielded a heavily rotated side for the replay. It paid dividends in the 13th minute when Elliott finished off a long run from midfield with a thunderous strike from distance to put Liverpool ahead. Wolves chased an equaliser to no avail for the majority of the second half before Julian Lopetegui brought on former Chelsea and Atletico Madrid striker Diego Costa to try to force extra time but could not find a way back into the game. The result, Liverpool's first win in 4 matches in all competitions, sets up a fourth-round FA Cup tie with the same Brighton team that outclassed them. Meanwhile, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp said he is not being too loyal to long-serving players who are underperforming at the club and has no plans to leave his role.
So, as far as I'm concerned, that's what I hear. If nobody tells me, I will not go. So that means maybe there's a point where we have to change other stuff. I really think you are deal really nice in a nice way with the situation. I was not that often in a similar situation, but I watch football longer than I'm a manager, and I know exactly how it always works when things don't go well. There are a couple of things there's a list of things what you go through.
Well, Liverpool have failed to mount a Premier League title challenge this season and are down the table in 9th, 19 points behind leaders Arsenal. Now, before joining Liverpool, Klopp led Borussia Dortmund to 2 Bundesliga titles and a Champions League final, but left when they finished 7th. Well, Jim Ratcliffe's company, Ineos, has entered the bidding process to buy Premier League football club Manchester United. Now, the Glazer family, United's US owners, said in November they had begun looking at options for the 20 times English champions, including new investment or a potential sale of the club. Now, boyhood United fan Ratcliffe, who made an unsuccessful £4.25 billion bid to buy Chelsea last year, has long been linked with the Old Trafford outfit. Now, after failing with his Chelsea takeover when Roman Abramovich sold the Blues to American tycoon Todd Boehly and his consortium, Ratcliffe is back in the hunt for a Premier League giant. United have yet to comment on the news of the 70-year-old's interest in taking over from the United States-based Glazers. Now, born in Failsworth, Greater Manchester, Ratcliffe is one of Britain's richest men and might be more palatable to the United support than the Glazers. The Glazers, who completed a leveraged takeover of the club in 2005, have proved deeply unpopular with supporters due to the team's declining fortunes on the pitch in recent years. Their purchase of United also saddled the club with huge debts. Now, United have not won the Premier League since 2013, and their last major trophy came 6 years ago. Now, after a dismal sixth place finish in the Premier League last season, United have been revitalised by boss Erik ten Hag and set fourth in the table after beating arch rivals Manchester City 2-1. Now, moving on to tennis, Novak Djokovic soaked up thunderous applause in his first match back at the Australian Open after last year's deportation drama as the 9 times champion outclassed Roberto Carballes Baena 6-3, 6-4, 6-love in a flawless start to his title bid. Now, returning to Melbourne Park, where the prolific... In another match, local hope Alexei Popyrin battled long into the night and even into the morning.
The number of malicious and false statements spread by SMS or social media platforms have become too widespread. The public is advised to be careful and not fall for such ploys and sharing or forwarding such messages. Remember that spreading fake news is an offence under Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. This carries a penalty of a fine not exceeding 50,000 ringgit or up to 1 year imprisonment or both upon conviction.
Kecemasan, boleh saya bantu?
Hello, there's been a motorcycle accident here. Maybe an elephant ran it over.
Sir, there is fire accident at the address number 5 Jalan Tembikar, Shah Alam.
PGO from FRT Shah Alam, there was no fire accident here. Over.
MERS 999. Use it wisely.
Well, that's all from us this afternoon. And making the headlines, the Education Ministry is looking to improve early schooling aid distribution to ensure safety and time saving. Don't forget to join us tonight at 10 p.m. on saluran Berita RTM for more news. You can also catch it online on RTM Click's website and mobile app, or in case you missed it, you can still stream it at Berita RTM YouTube channel. Now, before we go, let's watch a clip of dragon chickens. It's a breed with legs as thick as a brick that can fetch up to $2,000 a head for a chicken, used for a popular dish during Lunar New Year in Vietnam. I'm Muhammad Ahmed Carlos. Goodbye and have a wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.